Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Notice of an open work session of the City Council of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, May 15th, 2018. Eric.
Thank you, sir. Tonight's work session is about the Kansas City Communities for All Ages program. And with us tonight are Kathy Boyer-Schessel, who's the project manager for the Communities for All Ages program with Mid-America Regional Council, and Tina Urich, who's the executive director with Clay County Senior Services. So at this point, I'll turn it over to you folks.
Thank you. I will start. I'm Tina with Clay County Senior Services. This is our 15th year of providing programs and services for older adults in Clay County. We're funded through the Senior Levy program. Many of the services that we provide include transportation, in-home support, minor home repair, partnerships for health and wellness, exercise programs, and a variety of things. So we'd like to think that all of the programs and services that we're offering certainly contribute to aging in community, aging in place, and making communities stronger and, for our older adults. So I wanted to congratulate you on your new Parks and Recreation building. Our staff took a trip over yesterday to view it and see it, and it's beautiful. And I think there could be some real possibilities in continuing to partner with some programs at that location. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Kathy to talk about KC Communities for All Ages, a partnership that we have been working on for a couple of years now. Clay County Senior Services has provided matching incentive grants for our municipalities in Clay County to participate in this program. And if you all agree, this will be the 6th community in Clay County that is going to be working towards being recognized as a KC Community for All Ages.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us to come and present tonight. So the presentation tonight is going to talk about the demographic shift that we're experiencing really across the world, but we're going to bring that down to actually North Kansas City. We're going to talk about the demographic shift and then what are age-friendly community initiatives and what is the initiative that you all are considering participation in. So we'll start with, and you all have in your packet this slideshow as well. Let's see if I'm doing this correctly. So we're starting at the national level, and many of you may have already heard this because this statistic has been around now for a while. When we started this program in 2012, this was new information. The AARP in 2012 indicated or announced that in 2011 the first boomer began to turn 65. And actually, AARP didn't need to announce that, but the first boomer started to turn 65 in 2011. And it's estimated from that point forward that 10,000 boomers will turn 65 every day. And this is a national statistic. And that this will continue until 2030. So obviously we're talking big numbers, and we're going to bring that down to the region and then I guess to the state. This slide shows the state of Missouri, showing the trending from 2010 to 2030 by county. And those that are in gold or yellow, depending on how you're seeing this slide, reflect those counties that by 2030 will have 25% or greater of their population that will be 65 or older. So you can see that it's a pretty dramatic shift that's occurring in the state of Missouri. As I mentioned when I met with Eric and the mayor and a couple staff, Kansas's map is even more dramatic. It's quite yellow, which is pretty reflective of the Midwestern states, where a greater percentage of the counties are going to experience higher degrees of 65 plus population. So this is the metro data that shows all of the 9 counties, which is Mark's service area. Clay County is highlighted, showing the percentage increase from 2010 to 2030. Johnson County, as you'll see, has the highest percentage increase of 144%, and Clay at 95, just a little over 95% increase. So what we're seeing, not just here in the metro area, but really across the country, that as the population is becoming more and more a region of all ages where all groups are represented relatively equally. And the next two slides are gonna show the pyramid chart of demographics, where this is the typical, where it's the pig and the python, where there's number of younger, and then as you go up the middle, there's more, and then at the top are where people, the longevity typically ended around 80, 85. This is the 2030 pyramid chart, where it's becoming much more now of a stovetop, where all of the ages are being represented equally. So we are really moving more toward a region of all ages instead of the typical pyramid. So this chart shows the North Kansas City's population, a 10-year comparison, 2010 to 2020. And when we first started putting these charts together, I think maybe in 2014, 2020 seemed a long way away, and it's now just, we're knocking at the door of 2020. But as we put together these charts for all of the communities that participate in this program, North Kansas City's chart is very similar to what the other counties are experiencing, where you're seeing that there's a fairly dramatic increase of the 50 plus that will occur in that 10-year phase. So when this program was brought to mark, and really as the age-friendly community program initiatives across the country, because there are a variety of models of age-friendly community initiatives. They're called livable communities, lifelong communities. In the Kansas City region, we've chosen to call ours a community for all ages. And that was in part based on feedback that we received from elected officials where we piloted this program, but also residents and staff. There was much more of an agreement and an embracement that we really are communities of all ages. This program tends to highlight, though, that cities going forward, really over the next century, are going to have a far greater older adult population just because people are living longer and healthier due to medical advances and just healthier living, healthier evidence-based programs that Tina's program is so good at doing. But it really is a next century program for cities to be concerned about. That there was some feeling that, well, let's just wait for the boomers to die off and then we can go back to the way things were. But millennials as a sector, which I'm sure you know, really outnumber by several million the boomer cohort. And so as the first boomer actually does start to die, the last boomer starts to die, the oldest millennial will be turning 65. And in one of the slides that I'll be showing here shortly, that there are similarities and preferences between millennials and boomers, which is really good as far as planning for cities. But we began to ask this question, well, what does this mean for cities, that there will be a dramatic increase of older adults who want to remain in their homes, they want to stay vital, some will continue to work long past the normal retirement age. So what does this mean for cities, and what are their obligations, what are their responsibilities, and who are partners that they might partner with to provide the kinds of services and opportunities to meet the needs of the new old, so to speak. So it really impacts every aspect of cities, from emergency preparedness and public safeties, park and rec. I'll have to look at your new building. Health, neighborhoods, housing, it really impacts everything. Particularly, I think, when you understand that older adults, they really do want to stay in their homes and neighborhoods. So that is very much a city issue. So we're going to talk about 3 myths and facts that we typically find when we meet with new communities, but really it's any group, whether it's a Rotary or a PTA or these are, whatever the group, these tend to be myths that people and perceptions have. That boomers, people over the age of 65 years want a quiet lifestyle. But the fact is, and if you're a boomer here at the table, or if you have children that are boomers, or you know that we don't plan to age like our parents. As a cohort, we want to stay active and engaged. Whatever the survey, and there are many out there that will ask folks as they age, where do they want to live after they retire? Whatever the survey, it's close to 90% of those who respond say they want to stay in their own home for as long as possible. An emerging need for transportation options And many older adults do continue to work, whether it's out of necessity or it's a choice. Another myth, young people look for different community amenities than older people. But the fact is that there are many similar preferences between boomers and millennials about what they're looking for in amenities. Affordable housing, low maintenance housing. They very much want walkable communities. And that's across the country. But as we did focus groups and as we piloted this program in 4 communities in our region, walkability emerged as one of the most important aspects of what older adults are wanting in their community. But our focus groups were of all ages, so this wasn't limited to older adults. Wanting mixed-use development, more transportation options, and many opportunities to remain civically engaged. And the final myth I'm going to talk about is that planning for one age group means not meeting the interests of another age group, where the fact is accounting for the needs and interests of all ages and groups and of all abilities will create communities for all ages, where there's cities where it's great to grow up and grow old. So the program that we developed, which we call the Communities for All Ages Recognition Program, was first partnered with the First Suburbs Coalition, which you all are a member of, and often we have meetings here for the First Suburbs Coalition. This was a checklist that was developed using and guided by the World Health Organization's Age-Friendly Community Network. We realized very quickly that Kansas City needed to develop their own program. So this checklist was a result of piloting a program guided by other age-friendly community initiatives. And I mentioned that there are other models of livable communities. Whatever the model, these topics are going to be included in it. May have a different title or a different topic name, but they're all the same. So the checklist, which we'll talk about when we talk about the recognition program, enables a community to look at all of these topic areas and look at policies and practices and what makes sense for North Kansas City that would help North Kansas City become more age-friendly. So the recognition program has 3 phases. There's an awareness phase, which helps to raise the awareness of the impending demographic shift and what that means for communities. And there's a series of activities that a city goes through. The second phase is an assessment, which the checklist plays a key role as the city conducts a self-assessment. And then the final phase is an implementation where a community will apply an age lens to a major city plan. We have 4 communities right now that have the gold level, and they've all chosen different major city plans to apply their age lens. So this graph or this slide shows the level of participation that we have so far with communities that have participated in this program. So we have 4 at the gold level, 3, actually Kearney has already moved up to gold. We have 3 at the silver level, 5 at the bronze level, and then those that have achieved the bronze, they're at some level of moving up to the next level. And we're starting at the same level that we might with you, hopefully with North Kansas City, with Parkville, Peculiar, and Smithville. So that will be 16 communities that will be participating in this program. So the bronze level, which you're going to talk just a little bit more about what that means and what the commitment would be for each of the for your community. It does require an adoption of a resolution by the City Council to participate in this program. And there's a series of presentations to governing bodies, to department head staff, relevant commissions on what it means to be age-friendly and how this will impact the city. And then the communities, the 4 bullets, the community needs to just do 2 of those bullets. And each community is different with what they choose. The city needs to designate a lead staff person to support their city's involvement, including the responsibilities to submit the application, which is not very difficult. But there needs to be someone from the city who works with me, but essentially make sure that make sure that everything gets done, and to work with the council and management for this program. Depending on how extensive your Bronx level activities would be, this person would also assist with organizing and hosting of community groups. With Clay County Senior Services Incentive Grant, Clay County cities can do a little bit more than what non-Clay County cities can do during the Bronx level. And Mark, our responsibilities are just to assist and provide support in any way to help you successfully achieve the Bronx level. The silver level is, as I mentioned before, the key activity of the silver level is to use the checklist, and cities decide they may delegate this work to an existing commission. 2 or 3 of our cities have done that. Some of the newer communities have actually assigned a task force made up of elected officials, staff, and residents to go through the checklist. Again, with Clay County's incentive grant, if it's the city's desire, we're able to actually contract someone to attend the meetings and document the discussions and issue the draft report. And again, our responsibilities are to assist in any way that we can to, so that North Kansas City would be successful in completing the silver level. And then the gold level, again, would be for the city to determine which of your major city plans to apply an age lens to. So next steps would be, if there is a decision to move forward with participation in this program, there's a formal commitment because they're a funder and they like formal commitments with Mark and Clay County Senior Services in the city of North Kansas City. A resolution adopted by the council to participate in the program, to identify the leadership that would be responsible to kind of move forward and champion the program. We would help develop the Bronx Plan, which is really a series of awareness activities that make sense for your city. We have a couple optional programs that Mark provides for cities that are going through the recognition program to keep it current and kind of front and center. Every other month, we have a joint meeting with representatives from the other 15 communities that are participating in the program. And they come together and talk about what's working in their community, how are you doing your focus groups. We also have some local presentations on topics that are pertinent or relevant to age-friendly communities. Next week is our next meeting, and for example, we have a presentation by a Mark staff who's leading the emergency preparedness initiative in the region. So it's an opportunity for those going through the recognition program to do a deeper dive and more individual with the staff person who's leading that, with how would that impact North Kansas City. Mark is also testing some new software to better understand the data from the American Community Survey. And so this group is being given the opportunity to test that and give feedback. So those kinds of experiences are available on a bi-monthly basis to communities that are participating in this recognition program. We also hold workshops for what we call the Communities for All Ages Professional Network. We typically bring in outside experts in a topic that's, again, relevant to age-friendly community practices and policies. Those are optional, but we found that they're helpful. So at this point, I'll stop and respond to any questions.
Is there any cost to anything for this from the city? Is there any money that changes hands?
The Clay County Senior Services Incentive Grant, you don't have it in your packet, but for the Bronx level, it's $1,500 that Clay County Senior Services provides or that matches from the city. And with that $3,000, that can help support the outreach activities.
Having a consultant come in and lead the focus groups or So the bronze level's 1,500, your contribution, we match that with 1,500. Then the silver level,
Is 1,500 total. I think, Eric, I'm thinking that the total is
750.
less than 3,000
Yeah.
for all three levels.
silver, to achieve the silver level, 750.
Yeah.
And then I think to achieve the gold level, which is the highest but least intensive work, is 350.
So the total cost to reach the gold level, according to the information you provided us, is $5,250, of which half would be offset by the grant from Clay County Senior Services. So if we went all the way, the total cost to the city would be $2,625.
Glad you have that, Eric. Thank you.
Would the city have to bring in any other consultants or anything on this as far as having to pay them, as far as the cost?
No. We have the staff capacity to proceed with this now. We didn't. I think it was a little bit questionable for me a few years ago when this program was initiated, but I feel we do now. No, we would not need to bring on anybody additionally.
Thank you.
And the program, cities can go through all three levels easily within 2.5 years. And what we're seeing is that some of the newer communities are actually applying for silver and gold at the same time, because as they're going through the assessment, they're also revising one of their major city plans. So we anticipate that we'll see more communities that are applying for both gold and silver at the same time.
But also, there's not a designated time frame. We have found that each community works at their own pace. There's things that you can't avoid, changeover of staff or other things that you're focusing on. So there's no designated time frame that you would have to adhere to. It's really, we want it to be what makes sense for your city and your council.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I definitely support joining this program. I think it's definitely worthy to look at it, because when you look at the age shift, that 2010 to 2030, I mean, we're already halfway there. So you're starting to get to a point where you can no longer be proactive.
Yes.
And so I think it's definitely important you do this, and you talk about aging in place and the similarities that the millennials have with older generations. Then I also picked up, when I was out in Charlotte, was it the Where We Live Communities for All Ages, 100 Great Ideas for Community Leaders. It was actually from AARP. So I think it'd probably sign everyone up if anyone is interested in reading it. But Kansas City actually made it for their streetcar, but there is a lot of other good. I mean, it breaks down everything similar to what's on the checklist here. It has ideas that fall into all those categories.
We are fortunate to be connected with the national efforts. So we really do try to keep up with best practices of age-friendly community work.
So we have staff that are able, time-wise, to do a lot of the things that are going to be involved in this, then?
Yes, sir. I believe I would assign the assistant city administrator to that. I think he's got the skills and the
There you
capacity
go.
to do
I
it.
was thinking.
And,
Yeah,
and
really.
she has a little bit of history with it because where she came from.
Well, I was going to ask that question. Had either one of you worked with this program in the past?
I did in the city of Blue Springs. So yes, I helped them achieve the bronze level, and they are on their way to the silver level.
Oh, okay, great.
Is there a
Yeah, we can hit gold or platinum. Is there a platinum level? Because we want to hit platinum.
Hey.
I'm going to create a new one.
is there a reason why Kansas City, Missouri, Overland Park, Kansas, and Kansas City, Kansas are not on as a participant? At least I don't see it.
Well, clearly Missouri has the most game where livable communities are. All I can say is that Kansas communities have been given the opportunity to participate. We'd love to have more Kansas
Missions on
communities.
there, but I don't see Kansas City, Kansas. Or
Oh,
Overland
Kansas
Park.
City,
And
Missouri.
I don't see Kansas City, Missouri. Also,
they
I just
haven't.
wondered why.
They've been given the opportunity to participate.
But they haven't.
Not as of today.
Thank you.
Yeah, in the bronze level, you indicate preparing written materials and the resident survey. Are written materials, are they already prepared that we can use, or is this something that the committee would have to prepare individually?
Well, if you're familiar with Mark's Public Affairs Department, they do wonderful work. Laura Bogue, who's the PA person who works with this project, has developed a template for a brochure. But we can be helpful to a limited capacity.
It'd be great, because it'd be a lot easier
Yeah.
if it kind of falls into place with the other cities already participating. Thank you.
And as far as Overland, I think he asked about Overland Park. Johnson County is looking at going through the process, really from a county-wide process, aren't they?
Yeah. We're in early discussions with Johnson County. They've had a change of leadership, so we're kind of waiting for things to.
Maybe we should go the way that Clay County, maybe Clay County should go the way of Johnson County then.
That's our next thing we want to do. Yeah, definitely kind of go to the Clay
See how
County.
that works out with the county.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's nice that the individual cities have participated, but then to take it countywide would be just a logical next step. We'd be the first county in Missouri to have done that, so we like to be a little competitive.
Well, it appears that you already have a number of cities in Clay County that are
Yes.
participating
And
or
you would be
on
the
their way.
sixth major municipality to participate.
So we would be a really likely candidate.
Yes.
I live in a senior complex down on the end of Swift down here, and I think some of your people work directly with some of the people that live in
Yes, we do.
our gardens, so I'm familiar with your operation.
Yeah, and I brought brochures to pass out to the council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do good work.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I know, like Bryant was saying, this is gaining national attention because the conferences for the National League of Cities, they talk about cities for all ages. So
Yes.
thank you for bringing this information to us.
Thank you for your time.
What is the median age of North Kansas City from the 2010 census? Was it 40-something, or I was remembering that?
Sarah's nodding yes.
Yeah,
45, around there.
getting there.
So if there is consensus on the part of the council that you'd like to move forward with this,
Now, as long as Kim does the work, while we can handle that.
well, the first step would be for the council to approve an agreement, which has been provided. I think you might have in your packet. So I would put that on your next agenda, and then that would commence our activities.
Sounds great.
Everybody agreeable?
Moving
Yep.
forward.
Go for it.
All right, sir.
Anything else? Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, ladies.